believe it or not, but this is where Bernie Allain says he's most relaxed.
Come on, Joey!
You can't relax any more than you can at a ballpark. It is the most laid-back sport that there is.
Allain is a long-time Ottawa Lynx fan, a season ticket holder for 14 years.
Having some good food and just having a good time, really just relaxing and enjoying the ball game the way it's supposed to be. It's not these people that are making millions up in the majors, it's watching these young guys come up and make mistakes and learn from their mistakes and adapt and have a good time.
Norma Toronto's love of baseball far predates the Lynx.
I can remember standing on the street during the war in Edmonton listening to the World Series on the radio. It's fun. I love the ambience of the stadium, and you know, I enjoy baseball.
She and her husband, Cy, have missed just 5 Lynx home games in 14 years. They can't figure out why more people don't share their passion.
I have so many friends that say, oh, I'm going to come to a game, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. And they never do get around to it. And they don't know what they're missing.
Thank you. When the Lynx first came to town, they were the hottest thing going. In fact, tickets were tough to get. Winning the league championship just 2 years later only fueled the hype for pro baseball here.
And we just did the best we could.
The enthusiasm, though, soon fizzled. From a strike by major league players to a controversy over candy bars, theories abound. Whatever the reason or reasons, fans stayed away and have, despite a change in ownership and concerted efforts to rekindle what once was.
It surprises me and it doesn't, because I've been there too, right? For whatever reason, I fell away from it and rediscovered it a few years ago.
Lynx management could only dream of a world full of people like Carl Kiffner and his kids.
Your kids brought you back?
My son did, yeah. He really enjoyed it here. He caught a foul ball and actually he caught a ball that was tossed to him by a player. And you know, from that night on, he made a connection with that player. Just a smile from the player and a wave, and from there we bought half-season tickets and seasons tickets.
So many others, though, have stayed away, and so the Lynx may move away. A deal is close, but not done, according to the team's general manager.
We may be here in 2007, in 2008. We may not, but when and if this happens, you know, we're going to let people know as soon as it's 100% one way or the other.
If or when the team leaves, hardest hit may be Little Leaguers, the Lynx mentor.
For our players to go right up to the fence and talk to them, get their autographs, shake their hands, you can't do that with all the other sports at any other time. But the Ottawa Lynx gives us that opportunity.
And what becomes of the stadium built specifically for the team? Those who helped build it say there are options.
It can be used for festivals, commercial use. I know car dealers use it for big sales. So it's to me an important part of the city infrastructure and assets.
Can you make it into a dome sort of a situation for various other activities, whether it be frisbee or whether it be touch football or whatever? I guess you can.
There are also other professional baseball leagues with shorter seasons and lower costs that may give Ottawa a go. For baseball fans, that holds the best promise of filling the gap and summer evenings if Ottawa's AAA experiment ends. Chris Day, CTV News.
A radar gun borrowed from the local AAA baseball club, and we find that the numbers add up quickly. These buses are traveling well above the posted speed limit for this zone.
Much of Ottawa's Transitway is for vehicles only, but here, just south of the University of Ottawa, we're sharing the sidewalk space and the Transitway itself. And that means for pedestrians, there's really only a couple of arm lengths between myself and the roadway. Really not much room for error when you consider the driver might get distracted somehow or even slip on a patch of ice one day.
They always seem to be going pretty fast. My roommate is actually terrified of walking by here.
He won't walk by here?
He has to because he has no choice, but he's pretty afraid to.
Sometimes I think I'm gonna fly right into the bus. It's dangerous.
Do you think they should be slowing down a bit?
Yeah, it would help.
Bus pedestrian collisions are extremely rare, but the risk does exist considering the sheer volume of people using Transpo, 250,000 rides a day.
Operators are supposed to follow the speed limits that are posted as they're governed under the Highway Traffic Act. They're professional drivers.
And because it's always encouraging more people to use public transit, the OC Transpo brass don't want to put the onus on riders to be any more aware of the city's 26 transitways than any other publicly accessible area.
We have a staff of 50 transit supervisors that are patrolling the system, including the Transway, along with our bylaw enforcement officers, and they periodically do their own radar checks.
Police do have the authority to enforce the Highway Traffic Act on our transitways, but OC Transpo staff say they themselves are going to be out over the next few days making sure all their drivers are obeying speed limits. Robert Maxwell, the New RO, Ottawa.
Not even now does his doctor or lawyer know the motivation of the Ottawa Valley arsonist.
I think I said in my submissions, if you question 10 people, experts in human behavior, you'd have 10 different answers.
We do know 60-year-old Gib Drummond lived to work. Much of his energy is devoted to time on the Mississippi Mills Volunteer Fire Department. That was before, though, an on-the-job accident in late 1997. After that, laid up and heavily medicated, Gibb's life took on a downward spiral, ending in last summer's rash of barn and brush fires.
Investigators were able to pin 8 of 16 fires on Drummond, but the 3-month search was perhaps toughest on Drummond's longtime colleague and friend, the township fire chief.
I had to set apart my friendship from doing my job, and you know, my job came first. That's one person, one friend, but I'm responsible for the whole community.
And for those Lanark County residents whose generations, in some cases, of hard work was destroyed in mere moments by a man many knew, there's a real feeling still of anger and a feeling of betrayal.
Yet Drummond's closest son is relieved his dad is finally going off to prison for a while. That's the place where the elder Drummond will receive the kind of psychiatric help he himself begged the court for.
He's lost. I look into his eyes and he just looks like a lost little puppy. He needs some guidance big time. Trust me, in the last 6.5 months, it's been a hard time for my father. He hasn't been eating, and quite honestly, I don't think he cares whether he lives or dies, and he needs somebody to get him on the right track.
Justice Stephen March called this a perplexing case, but put most of the weight of his decision on the deterrence argument. Still, Gib Drummond gets his rehab, and hopefully this summer, residents of Lanark County get peace of mind. Robert Maxwell, the New RO, Perth.
A call to noontime mass, and a cry for help from a survivor of sex abuse at the hands of clergy.
And this is about kids, folks. This is about ensuring our children are safe to be around the people that we entrust as ministers in our parishes.
The last 4 years of David Gagnon's teenage years were a nightmare. He was abused at the hands of a parish priest while living in the state of Maine. The priest was never criminally charged because the case took too long to come to American courts.
Now, the Ottawa-based activist wants those who attend Canada's Catholic churches to stand up and make their parishes safe from sex predators he fears are still lurking in these houses of worship.
I think they need some prompting from parishioners. You bet. I think we ought to be, encouraging them to be as out front and open with it as possible and participate in an investigation.
Specifically, Gagnon is calling for Canada's Catholic bishops to join his lobby group called the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, or SNAP. It's calling for a Crown inquiry into the clergy's sex abuse of children and vulnerable adults. It's also demanding bishops hand over all personnel files of suspected abusers to Crown prosecutors.
They've got to stop hiding predator priests. It's that simple.
The Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops has received Gagnon's list of demands, as he's calling them, and some or all may very well appear in a revised version of this booklet that the Catholic Church put out 10 years ago. From Pain to Hope was initially drafted after a rash of sex abuse tragedies came to light in the 1980s.
I don't think that there is any Canadian bishop at this point who would knowingly take a priest who has abused and put him into ministry.
Six months after his initial treatment, 56-year-old retired property inspector Jim Hunter has never seen better.
And it's a lot more comfortable to read now than with the glasses, and But also outdoor activities and things like that. You know, you don't have to be concerned about the glasses flying off if you're doing any sports or anything like that.
It's thanks to an experimental laser surgery technique being perfected here in Ottawa. Under the watchful eye of Health Canada, researchers are taking this decade-old and popular form of vision enhancement to the next level.
In conventional laser eye surgery, the front of the patient's eye is altered using only their existing eyeglass prescription as a guide for the surgeon. Here, researchers are incorporating a small laser to map the entire eye. That way, small aberrations or bumps or grooves can be factored in, and the patient is offered a customized repair job.
The results, say researchers, mean some patients like Jim Hunter actually see better at all distances lens-free than they ever did before when they were using prescription reading glasses.
They're kind of a time machine for me, these people.
A common side effect of conventional laser eye surgery is a temporary reduction in night vision. The new generation of laser mapping tools may help that too, and then some.
This will allow the human eye to develop its maximal vision, which at this stage is around 20/10 is the physical limit of what the eye can see.
The question remains, though, who will actually need such super sight outside of professional athletes or those training to be fighter pilots? All's quiet now at Hydro Ottawa's main control centre, but the cold months are ahead, and so is Ontario's first winter under an open electricity market.
Since the Ontario government has opened the market, is when the demand for electricity is high. For example, when the weather's really hot or really cold, the prices are going to go up.
But there's more to the equation.
The trend in winter price hikes is complicated by what's overhead. Right now, the electricity coming through these lines is from a very tight supply. So until more homegrown electricity generators emerge, the people who buy Ontario's energy are going to have to rely on more pricey power sources, imported energy in a lot of cases from places like New York State.
And that affects all of us. Power industry watchdogs say the average homeowner is paying $300 more for their actual hydro since 2000, when the government's restructuring of the power market began in earnest. So even with a modest rebate check likely on the way by late spring, according to the energy minister, the bill increase is too much too quickly for some struggling to eke out a living.
I can't afford to stay in business. If it stays like that, I'll be out of business.
The government's talking about a rebate. Do you think
What's the rebates? That's nothing compared to what they already charged us.
Meantime, some 28,000 Ontarians are so frustrated with higher hydro bills, they put their name electronically onto this online petition put forth by a group called Electricity Coalition. It's backed by Ontario's major union groups and some seniors organizations.
But I think the next time that the prices go up, December and January, we're going to be thinking ahead that this is the time for us to use a little less power if we can.
Still, options exist on where you buy your electricity from, a decision that could save you a few dollars at least on the supplier portion of your bill. But that, of course, is dependent on what price you lock in, for how long, and where the market is. A list of energy retailers is on the web at the Ontario Energy Board's website. Robert Maxwell, The New RO, Ottawa.
Gordon Johnston met his partner of 18 years in this Elgin Street Anglican Church. In fact, he and Gaston were blessed here at St. John's on their 10th anniversary with great fanfare. But it's a blessing not officially recognized by many church leaders.
And spirituality and sexuality are so closely related. And so it was important to us that the community here recognize us as a couple and recognize that the love that we have for each other is a holy love.
Already, some local parishes welcome gays and lesbians into their environment in a general way. Indeed, in 1979, the Canadian House of Bishops of the Anglican Church agreed to accept all persons, regardless of sexual orientation, as equal before God.
Now, those behind the latest motion say it would modernize the church.
It's an important step for the church because, as you know, there's been sort of this evolution in society and in the church as well, away from seeing homosexuality as a kind of perversion.
For others, allowing same-sex blessings would force Anglican leaders to readdress the way they serve their flocks in the future.
This is not an anti-homosexual issue at all. This has to do with the celebration of the God-given context of human sexuality in terms of sexual behavior.
The motion comes on the heels of an Ontario court ruling last July. It allowed gay couples to register their marriage papers, perhaps obtained at a community church, with the Ontario government. but it was more of a symbolic win since the judges also suspended that same court ruling in order to give the Ontario government time to alter the definition of marriage.
For me, being with my partner of now 17, 18 years, it's such a profound experience, and the church is a part of that, and God is a part of that.
Tobacco companies are marketing their products, are making advertisements, are selling to you.
Olympic athletes spread the message of tobacco-free sports and playing clean to local kids.
This assembly definitely had a very big impact on me. I don't think I'll be taking up smoking anytime soon. My parents have already discussed it with me and stuff like that.
It's a contribution to World Tobacco Day, which was launched in 1987 by the World Health Organization. Its aim is to draw global attention to tobacco use and its associated health effects.
So what about those who've recently quit the tobacco habit in a bid to better their health? Are they actually free of the weed now?
The first 2 weeks were obviously the hardest. After that was watching other people trying to get around it. And then after that, after 6 months, not a worry.
Now, it's not hard to find long-term success stories. 10 years is great, but know that 7 out of 10 smokers who try and quit fail the first 1 or 2 times because there's just not enough regular support.
Since the last National Non-Smoking Week, it's been 98 days, or 2,300 hours, or 141,000 minutes. But those 3 months or so have flown by for government economist Robert Squires. In March, he entered the City of Ottawa's annual Quit Smoking contest. He was one of the winners of a cash prize.
You don't think you're going to win, but you just use it as a trick to give you that extra incentive, right, to stop smoking on that day.
So is there any one great way to quit?
One is to have a plan in place, and the other would be to have really good support, be that friends, be that self-help brochures.
Robert Maxwell, the New RO, Ottawa. This is what Nortel stock's worth now, about $1. For the same price, you can buy a ball of twine, some oven mitts with flowers on them, a head bobber for your car, and whatever this is.
Would you consider buying it at this point for $1?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there are probably too many other opportunities. I know that the philosophy is if you wouldn't buy it, you probably shouldn't hold it.
The last time Nortel shares were valued at less than $1 was in October of 1981, if you take into account multiple stock splits. Last month, the telecom hardware maker warned that it sold 10% less of its products over the past 3 months compared to spring, but it also announced it was slashing 7,000 more jobs worldwide to stop mounting losses.
The buzz in the investment community is that Nortel's not likely to show a full recovery for at least 3 or 4 more fiscal quarters, a year or more. But because it's taking steps to adjust to market realities, snapping up a few shares now could be seen as a real bargain.
One expert says it depends what kind of investor you are, prudent or speculative.
Sometimes when you have a very casual conversation, they say, like, flip a coin, which is almost like a 50-50 bet. And if it's a pure speculative, do I go to the buy 649 tickets or buy Nortel, under that frame of investment, I probably go get Nortel because your odds are better, and likely it's a sector that will recover. The question is, nobody knows for sure when.
October 17th, Nortel is expected to announce its latest cost-cutting moves when it releases third quarter numbers. And if you're in the mood to vent your frustrations about the losses you've been incurring, you can always convert a Nortel share to a loonie and speak your mind here at Speaker's Corner. All proceeds go to charity. Robert Maxwell, the New RO, Ottawa.
You could call it society in a box, the magic screen which contains every kind of entertainment, information, educational programming, and depending on the age of your child, only some of it's appropriate for their level of cognitive development.
The Canadian Pediatric Society has a report out that suggests the average Canadian child watches 23 hours of television a week. Some kids take in as many as 5 hours a day. By the time the average teen graduates high school, he'll have spent more time in front of the television than in the classroom.
This CHEO doctor says the psychosocial impact of prolonged viewing on a developing mind can be profound.
Kids are sponges. They learn from every single thing that's put in front of them. They're learning how to live through vicarious stimulation. And they're not learning that things that move more slowly and more thoughtfully can be just as useful. Television simply doesn't give much credibility to that pace of things.
One thing that parents and guardians can do right off is watch with their children, so if the kids have questions, there can be immediate discussion about what's real and what's fantasy in a 1,000-channel universe, like these ghosts, right, Trent? Are they real?
No.
No.
They watch a show called Zubumafu, and they have a mystery animal, so they'll ask me if I know what the mystery animal is, so things like that.
So at least there's interaction.
Yes, there's interaction.
And real or not, another important negative influence to consider when your kids are watching TV is the impact of violence, a worry for Dr. Palferman.
Because you've seen thousands and thousands of times acts of violence solve problems when they should have been solved in some clumsier, less violent way.